Welcome to ADHD Whiskey. My name is Matt, and today I'm telling you about 10 of my favorite American whiskey releases so far in 2023. Now keep in mind, I haven't been able to get my hands on all the super special bottles that are floating around out there in secondary land, but guess what? These are my favorite bottles that I've been able to procure so far in 2023. Today's video is brought to us once again by our great friends over at ZBiotics. ZBiotics is the world's very first pre-alcohol probiotic drink, and it's the first of many good decisions. ZBiotics was proudly genetically engineered to make the morning after drinking a good morning. To ensure that the morning after you drink is a good morning, just remember these 3 words. Drink before drinking. All you gotta do is give it a good shake, rip off the cap, put it down the hatch, and then drink responsibly, stay hydrated, get a good night's sleep, and then guess what? The next day you're like, today's great. Today's a great day. Normally I would feel so yucky on a day like today, but thanks to ZBiotics, my day is okay. Here's how ZBiotics works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that makes you feel miserable the next day. ZBiotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. If you're interested in making your days after drinking good ones, then scan this QR code on the screen or click on my link in the description below. Use code ADHD at checkout and you'll save 15% off your first box of ZBiotics. Thank you so much, ZBiotics, for sponsoring this video. Thank you for making days after drinking not suck. And thank you, viewers, for supporting those who support the channel. If I didn't put these on the list, then it would be a complete lie, so I might as well not be a liar and put them on the list, even though I do believe it's a little bit of self-patting on the ass. Barrel King out of Bourbon, Missouri is doing fantastic stuff, and I've done 3 blends with them so far. Whiskey King 1, Whiskey King 2, and Whiskey King 3. The Whiskey Kings are all sold out, but definitely check out Barrel King. One bourbon that typically doesn't make my list because their profile's a bit too nutty and a bit too corny for me is Booker's, but the first batch of 2023, Charlie's batch, 2023-01, is a very, very, very good expression of Booker's bourbon. For a corny peanut oily bugger, Charlie's batch is one of the best Bookers I've had in a while. By the way, these are just in a random order. The order I'm presenting these means nothing. Next up in random order, Jack Daniel's 10-year. Jack Daniel's 10-year batch number 2, the 2023 release, so damn good. If they didn't release the 12-year this year, then the 10-year would be all the talk. I know it's not a lot of fun to watch me put bottles in front of the camera that you haven't been able to find, but on the other hand, I'm just telling you about the best whiskeys I've tried this year that I've been able to get. So by no means do I sit here and try to brag about what I have and you don't. But on the other hand, a lot of you out there have a lot of things that I don't, like an adequate sized pee-pee. Just kidding. Mine is more than adequate. That's what my wife said. Speaking of bottles people will be upset about because they can't get, including me, the only reason I have this was because it was a gift from a very tall, beautiful man. Russell's Reserve 13-year. I don't believe this is a 2023 release of Russell's 13, but if you are able to get your hands on one from 2023 or 2022 or whatever you can, these Russell's Reserve 13 years are a glorious expression from Wild Turkey. Moving along, Boulder Cask Strength. That's right, an actual craft whiskey from Boulder, Colorado, distilled, aged, and bottled in Boulder, Colorado. It's a high malt content bourbon whiskey, which provides a very unique, dark, chocolatey, like espresso bean, otherworldly, dark, delicious mouth experience. Boulder Cask Strength comes in at around 135 proof. If you're looking for a delicious variant of bourbon whiskey, something a little bit outside the norm, but not like too weird and too crafty, something that is very easy to migrate towards in terms of American whiskey drinkers' palates, then Boulder Cask Strength will definitely be for you. And it's only like 70 bucks. They're also doing some single barrels, not a lot of them, but if you run across a store pick of this, pick one up. Next on the list is going to be controversial because some people out there can't understand that people can be happy for their friends and also be, what's the word? Subjective or objective or whatever. Virtue Spirits. The Virtue Spirits bourbon releases are going to be phenomenal. The reason I say that is not because they're my friends, although that's a huge part of why I said that. In addition to them being great friends of mine, they're also using bourbon that has not been tasted by the majority of us. The mash bill of their bourbon is 75% corn, 20% rye, and 5% malted barley, and was distilled in the great state of Maryland. It's Maryland bourbon whiskey. Which distillery is distilling the bourbon that goes in this bottle? I don't know. But if we look at distilleries in terms of large breasts as they age, some will sag less and some will sag more. And I think that this is the breast whiskey coming out of Maryland, maybe even expanding to a wider areola. I've never had many great things to say about this brand, but this year, Maker's Mark came through super hard and super hot and gave us something that we've been asking for a while, an actual aged version of Maker's Mark. This is cellar-aged Maker's Mark, coming in at 115.7 proof. It's 11 and 12-year-old Maker's Mark wheated bourbon whiskey. And is it the best bourbon I've ever had? No. Is it damn good for a Maker's Mark? I don't know, watch the review. The new 124.7 proof Woodford Masters Collection batch proof also makes the list. Every year I get one of these bottles somehow, and every year I hem and haw about it because I really do enjoy it. But at the same time, I'm always wondering, like, how old is the whiskey in here? But then I have to think about it again and say, Matt, it's not about the age of the whiskey, it's about the taste of the whiskey. And then I start thinking that I'm talking like Maker's Mark because that's what Maker's Mark says, and that's why I complain about Maker's Mark so much, is because it's so young and not aged. Well, I don't know how aged the Woodford Reserve Masters Collection batch proof is this year, but if I had to slap an age statement on it, I would say that it tastes older than you would imagine, because when you imagine a whiskey like this, you imagine that it's probably not aged very long because they don't tell you how old it is. And when they don't tell you how old it is, that means it's probably young whiskey. And that's a record for me talking fast. Still need to dive deeper into this, but I do believe it belongs on this list of best bourbons I've had so far in 2023. The best batch of Larceny barrel proof I've ever had makes this list. Batch B523 is a 124.4 proof wheated bourbon from the Heaven Hill Distillery. Haven't always been a fan of Larceny barrel proof stuff. It just comes across as underaged, not great, with potential. But batch B523 lived up to the potential and actually turned out to be a friggin' great wheated bourbon. Larceny B523 making my list for best bourbons so far in 2023. Remus Repeal Reserve number 7, guess what? Pretty darn good. Pretty darn good. I'm well aware that there's a new older batch on the block, but I haven't had the chance to pick up Elijah Craig Barrel Proof C923 yet. But A123 from Elijah Craig, the last Elijah Craig Barrel Proof with the 12-year age statement on the side, is delicious. It is delicious. It is fantastic. I really, really enjoy Elijah Craig Barrel Proof batch A123. A123, my favorite batch of Elijah Craig Barrel Proof in quite a while. But again, I haven't had the C batch yet. And then last but not least, we have 2 bottles from a little place in Lynchburg, Tennessee. One of them is a rye, one of them is a Tennessee whiskey. Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Barrel Proof Rye and Jack Daniel's 12-year Tennessee whiskey. These things are ridiculously good. This is landfill whiskey. This whiskey is the most concentrated in terms of flavor and smell you'll ever run into. I absolutely love what Jack Daniel's is doing, and I would say that if you can pick up a Single Barrel Barrel Proof Rye, you will not be disappointed. It honestly drinks more bourbony than rye-like in my book. The Single Barrel Barrel Proof Rye is like just a glorious expression of what a barrel proof rye should taste like if you weren't too fond of the extreme rye flavors that a high rye whiskey provide. And the 12-year product, so far, it is my whiskey of the year in 2023. What can come across to beat Jack 12? I don't know. Maybe nothing. Or maybe Jack Daniel's will release something else that's even better. Who knows? Who knows what they're up to? But these 2 are going to round out my list for best whiskeys I've been able to acquire so far in 2023. Tune in at the end of the year for the rankings, top 10 bourbons and ryes of 2023. I make a list every year. Thank you so much for watching. Hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, leave a comment below. What did I miss? What were your favorite whiskeys
that you've been able to get so far in 2023 that I haven't been able to, or that I just didn't put on the list? My name is Matt. This is ADHD Whiskey, and like I always say, keep your head in the clouds, but your mind on not being so stressed out all the time. Life is short, and life is even shorter if you live it stressed out and you die of stressed outness. Just chill. Just take a chill pill, man. Quit being so stressed out. Sometimes life dog piles on top of you and you just can't think straight. So try not to let the little things bug you. Focus on the things you can focus on. Focus on the things you can change and you do have control over. And it will make the things you don't have control over a little bit easier to deal with. Again, this advice is for you, definitely not me, because I have everything under control. Everything perfectly under control. Nothing over here stressing me out. Nope. Not a ball of sweat has dripped down my brow.